Millions of people in West Africa are called Yoruba, but this is not the true ancestral name of the people. The name Yoruba is very recent, a name bestowed on them during the European colonial era. This new name limits the history of the people to less than 200 years. Most Yorubas can only trace their history to the creation of the new name, which goes back to 160 years approximately. As if these people in the millions came out of nowhere and never had a long-term history. Ask the Yorubas and you will hear about Oduduwa and his posse, Orishas, who are mystical beings who created the heavens and the earth and gave birth to their ancestors. This is pure fiction and not history. You see, what our brethren in the Caribbean and Americas fail to realize when they complain that the transatlantic slave trade robbed them of their history is that events that took place on the continent also robbed their brethren of their history as well. As we will see, a simple name change was all it took to wipe away the history of the Yoruba people. What is the origin of the name Yoruba? The name Yoruba does not only identify the people who live in southwestern Nigeria and in Dahomey, it also identifies their language. They speak closely related and for the most part, mutually understandable dialects. All of these dialects put together is called Yoruba. Before the advent of the name Yoruba, the subgroups, however, called themselves by their tribal names, like Egba, Ijebu, Ondo, Ife, and not Yoruba as their umbrella designation. As recent as the 1840s, there was no place of people called Yoruba in West Africa. The European colonialists referred also to them by their various tribe names. These tribes were ruled from the city-state of Odoyo. The Ahuza, or the Fulani people, referred to their rulers as Yaba or Yareba people, but the real names of the rulers was Evevio. Hugh Caplanton, the English explorer, confirmed this name in his annals, as well as information that we have from their kinsmen in Dahomey. Throughout the 19th century, the Fulani people were on a jihad, converting their neighbors to Islam. Those conquered that refused to convert to Islam were sold into slavery. When the jihadists conquered the powerful Oyo Empire, the demise of the kingdom caused a huge flight of refugees from the surrounding provinces governed by Oyo to seek refuge with European missionaries down in the south. Remember, these people identified themselves by the various dialects they spoke, even though they were one people. Not knowing how to classify them under one identity, the missionaries turned to one bishop, Ajayi Crowther, who was a native whom the missionaries had trained as a linguist for help. To keep the people united as they were under the rulership of Odoyo, Crowther came up with the name Yoruba from Yariba. He also came up with a new alphabet, which also became the standard in the missionary schools that they attended. This is how the name Yoruba was born and became established as the people's identity. Now, though it was good that they came under one umbrella, the name change, however, wiped out the people's identity and history. This has been truly disastrous because knowing their history is crucial to their survival. These are the Hebrews in exile, and they are suffering from the curses of Deuteronomy 28. And yet, they do not know the reason for their ongoing problems because they lost knowledge of their identity. And this is across the board. The Hebrews in Africa. Thankfully, records exist, though not taught in schools, of their true and glorious identity and history going back thousands of years. A name change was what wiped away a people's history. This is why history of one's origin is very, very important.